Oh my goodness, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of NANOCON today. Those of you who know me know my reputation as a pretty easygoing guy, not quick to anger. I mean, we all have our moments, right? Even the most chill people have their breaking points. But I have been called, and I'll take it, I've been called the Mr. Rogers of secular activism. So, hello, neighbor. Fred Rogers, he was a humanist first. He was the man who famously said, as human beings, our job in life is to help people realize how rare and valuable each one of us really is. His calling card was kindness. Yet even the nicest people have their limits. And today, in many ways, I don't feel nice. I'm two people at war. The hopeful and the hopeless, the optimist and the pessimist, the light versus the dark. I'm reminded of that classic George Carlin quote. He said, when you scratch a cynic, you find underneath a disappointed idealist. Today, both men stand before you. My two halves will take turns speaking to you, with those segments separated by this and this. All right? We are all likely navigating conflicting ideas and emotions as we are just fire hosed in the freaking face with the headlines of the day. Do you feel that? Yeah. You know, it's important we weather the raging storm with clear eyes and focus and sincere compassion. Compassion for the millions upon millions of people who have been brainwashed into alternate realities. Realities of fear, distrust, conspiracy theories, even hate. Approaching our interlocutors with awareness and self-control and good listening skills and seeking opportunities to see ourselves and others embrace better ideas. I know it's controversial. I was a conservative evangelical who was a good person, and I need to think that MAGA right-wingers might also be reachable and teachable, and what the fuck is wrong with those people? Jesus H. You and I are watching in real time the brainworming of the entire United States. People I used to think were somewhat reasonable and centered and focused have brought us to this moment, a cultural moment of mind-blowing, jaw-dropping, what the fuckery that has made satire nearly impossible. Look, really? Really? This is a real house. This is owned by a woman named Leslie Rossi in Youngstown, Pennsylvania. She made a Trump house. How do we explain this shit when the aliens land, right? So here's the scenario. Extraterrestrials land outside the door tomorrow and they say, hello, creatures of the earth, we come in peace. Tell us about your species. What knowledge do you possess? What advances have you made? What is your system of government? We're like, wait a minute. You mean now? You would like me to discard the current political, religious, and environmental conditions of this country and the world? Oh, have a seat, but be super quiet about it, because just landing here puts your non-white skin at risk of being chucked into the back of an ICE van. Because right now there's a huge percentage of human beings who are bigoted and stupid and irrational and terrified and ridiculous and destructive, but also capable of wonderful things. Our history and our headlines are filled with the stories of worthy aspiration, innovation, hard work, and historic achievement. We're evolved primates, once a species of grunting and stone tools. We've developed to fill our world with complex languages. We've been dreamers and inventors, and explorers, problem solvers, heroes and icons to emulate and admire. We've constructed technology, complex technology, wonderful technology upon this world of earth and water. We are the species that produced the writings of Homer, the sculptings of Michelangelo, the philosophies of Aristotle, and the calculations of Einstein. Humans have walked on the moon. We've sent vessels of ingenuity and discovery over 14 billion miles away and counting. I might play for you our greatest music, from Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 to the Beatles, while my guitar gently weeps. We can fit an entire library of books on a single card the size of a fingertip. My species has decoded the genome. We've countered deadly viruses by inventing microscopic miracles. We weren't born with wings, so we built our own, and we fly. We've also pierced the skies with awesome structures once considered impossible by our ancestors. Thanks to something we call the internet, our species has immediate access to a near complete database of knowledge, which is why millions of people believe you just landed on a disc. Oh yeah, millions of my species. People who have access to absolute proof for a spherical planet remain convinced in the year 2025 that it's all a big cover-up. Planetary scientists, meteorologists, the entire airline industry, every space agency, all world governments, they're all in on the cover-up. They're all in on the hoax. And the International Space Station astronauts that you passed while flying your ship on the way here, millions of my fellow Homo sapiens are convinced that the space station, the shuttle orbits, the moon landing, the satellite images, they're all nothing but a bunch of green screen fakery funded by deep state billionaire sphere-mongers who really don't want all the rest of us to wake up someday and realize that the earth is shaped like a thin crust pizza, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you documented your arrival when you flew in. So you can prove the spherical planet with facts. You can demonstrate that you did not, in fact, travel through the atmosphere. Well, my alien friend, allow me to show you what you are up against if you are selling reality these days. Vaccines prevent diseases and save lives, so people refuse to get them. Fluoride strengthens tooth enamel, reduces cavities, and prevents tooth decay, so we are banning it. The metric system is more efficient and makes more sense because it's decimal-based, it has no fractions, every conversion is done by some power of 10, so of course most Americans refuse to use it. UV radiation is a major cause of skin cancer, so of course we sunbathe. When we do get cancer, we've got the resource of highly educated, highly trained, highly experienced oncologists providing science-based treatments. But we reject the non-thing called Western medicine, and instead we entrust our care to untrained and often wildly expensive, nobody naturopaths who vibrate our energy meridians, tell us to eat more kale, and shove coffee up our asses. Louisiana's House of Representatives recently banned chemtrails, which are harmless condensation trails behind aircraft, which many believe are mind control chemicals dropped by the deep state. Oh, what's the deep state? This is a largely undefined shadow network which is engaged in everything from witchcraft to human sacrifice. Many whistleblowers about this deep state got their information from QAnon. What's QAnon? QAnon is a series of nutbar conspiracy theories which originated with some anonymous shitposter on 4chan. So of course it all has to be true. Genetic and archaeological evidence overwhelmingly proves that Homo sapiens descended from earlier primates migrating out of Africa. So of course we have white supremacists. By the way, even though our genetic code confirms that human beings evolved, were proven products of evolution, more than one third of Americans believe the unsourced myth that our ancestors were a pair of cosmically conjured garden nudists who chatted with talking snakes. That same true book contains slavery, sea monsters, blood rain, giants, magic mud, ghost sex, fire chariots, and the story of a guy named Jonah who lived for 3 days in the belly of a submerged prison fish. How many earthlings embrace at least a version of this book? Pew Research says only 2.3 billion. Now, whether they're Bible literalists or they think it's metaphorical truth or a pretty good book or whatever, that's almost a third of the entire species. A ton of Americans want a government based on that book. Yet they can't tell you what's in the damn thing or who wrote it. Most Americans can't even recite half of the 10 Commandments. Oh, but for them, the Bible is the preferred U.S. Constitution. Speaking of government, my alien friends, there is a state within the United States called Georgia. Georgia District 14 elected this woman twice. Had your spaceship landed in her backyard, she might have suspected that you were the gazpacho police. You were grown by Bill Gates in a peach tree dish, or maybe you're part of a cabal of astro-Jews using space lasers to set fire to the state of California. This is the same woman who joined the batshit conspiracy wagon claiming that the deep state is purposefully cloud-seeding climate catastrophes for the woke lib agenda. And if you think she's alone, in my home state, we recently saw Oklahoma News 9 have its weather radar vandalized because some guys thought meteorology tools were surveillance and control devices being used by the deep state. But one internet commenter had a great refutation to these conspiracy theories. They said, "The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is not frequently struck by lightning is proof Democrats do not control the weather." Intelligence and goodness have long chased Marjorie Taylor Greene, and yet she has always been faster. Her canoe has no oars. The wheel is spinning, the hamster is dead. She is so dense that light bends around her. By the way, a company with a sense of humor called Concord Industries makes a product for sale that I bought, and it sits on a shelf in my office at home. It is an actual Jewish space laser. This is a functional light and fan switch. You can take your light switch out of the wall and you can turn your lights and fan on with a Jewish space laser. It's awesome. It's awesome. But Georgia's District 14 is responsible for the fact that we are even dealing with the Jewish space laser conspiracy theory. However, Georgia also saw the election of State Representative Stacey Abrams, an attorney, a human rights activist, a crusader against voter suppression, and unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, can actually read and write. Abrams has written New York Times best-selling books. She is a crusader for equality and humanity. She's the best of us. If I could, I would introduce my alien friend to Maryland's Representative Jamie Raskin, former constitutional law professor, co-chair of the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, and a fearless defender of democracy and equality. He was diagnosed with cancer twice in 12 years, and he's still out there on the front lines fighting for what's right. This person is known by her initials. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez today represents New York's 14th district. She attended Boston University, double majoring in international relations and economics, and she graduated with honors. In 2018, AOC defeated a 10-term incumbent in the primaries, and she became the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. She wants Medicare for everybody. She wants tuition-free college, the abolition of ICE, science-based climate initiatives, and greater economic equality across the board. From what I've seen, she seems pretty fearless, a person of conviction, and I think she would be a smart, fair, and kind representative for our species to meet yours. By the way, have you heard the one about AOC and Marjorie Taylor Greene at the ball game? Okay, so there's a Major League Baseball game which hasn't started yet. Everybody's warming up on the field, and just by chance, Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC end up with seats right next to each other. And all of a sudden, pre-game, AOC stands up, reaches over and grabs Marjorie Taylor Greene, hoists her up over her head, and chucks her out onto the field. And the umpire stands up and looks up and he says, No, I said throw out the first pitch. Whether or not people agree or disagree with her politics, Americans have fully admired the hard work and accomplishments of a strong, successful, self-made woman. No. Millions of Americans, like this guy, dismiss her as a moron. The cretinous Tucker Carlson leads with the word bartender when he describes her, which, by the way, is an insult to the entire American working class. And of course, AOC is a woman of Puerto Rican descent, so that makes her a DEI hire. What's DEI? Well, diversity, equity, inclusion. It is a lovely idea. It's a worthy goal. To set a framework that promotes fair treatment and equal access to all people, particularly those who have been poorly represented or who face discrimination for race, or gender, disability, something else. It's equal opportunity for qualified people of color and gender in the workplace. It's about erasing ethnic barriers, allowing fair access to opportunity, guaranteeing pay equality. It's about parental leave, protections against workplace harassment, modifying our spaces to accommodate those with special needs. It's about affordable housing, bigotry-free laws and policies, mutual respect, and open doors. Yet tens of millions of people say DEI is a liberal plot to give preferential treatment to unqualified minorities. And somehow AOC gets shoehorned into this insult, even when she arrives at the party with a double major and honors from Boston University. She's elected democratically in a process that is supposed to be the American way. Oh, what's the American way, you ask? Well, at the time of your arrival, my extraterrestrial buddies, the markers for being a good American are apparently giant highway crosses, fossil fuels, and Jesus fish bumper stickers. Also, if you want to demonstrate the American way publicly, you must dress yourself like a Roman candle. To punctuate your Americanisticness, wave around a 60-round-a-minute AR-15, which fires lethal projectiles at a velocity of 3,200 feet per second and is frequently sold to mass-shooting psychopaths. My country has 44 million of these things floating around, while licenses here are required to drive a car, use a trademark, sell alcohol, even go fishing. In some states, it's harder to buy allergy medication than it is to buy the great American death stick. America, the United States, has more firearms than citizens. Gun murder happens hourly. So, of course, our society has committed time, energy, money, and resources to wage war against windmills, brown people, vaccines, national parks, history books, and rainbow flags. The 46,000 people who die by gun violence every year, they're a small price to pay in the service of democracy. Oh, what's democracy? Well, democracy is a system of government by and for everyday people. The power resides in the people. Leaders are appointed and elected in free and fair elections. Americans have a constitutional right to be or not be religious, to speak, to assemble. We have courts of law. We have voting rights. We have minority protections and a representative government serving everybody. The American experiment was unprecedented in the late 18th century. And while our founders were far from perfect, their Declaration of Independence and that Constitution bucked the political order, established a representative republic, encouraged a diversity of ideas, installed checks and balances against the types of power they had just escaped, and founded a nation without tyrants and despots, dictators, or a king. And shit. Allow me to introduce you to today's founding fondler. The commander-in-chief, Genghis Dawn, Tangerine Palpatine, ejected from the womb with a silver spoon already in his mouth, Donald Trump has convinced tens of millions of swooning cult members that an entitled trust fund baby, grifter, bankrupter, pussy grabber, warmonger, and tantrum-throwing mango man, somehow he has convinced people he's the chosen one, and millions of people agree. Like this guy. Two saviors on one banner. People love putting Trump and Jesus on the same message board. And check this out. There's an actual organization called Women for Trump. Given his history, given his words and behaviors, given the judgments of our courts, the Epstein connection, everything, Women for Trump is the equivalent of chickens for Tyson. Yet an entire generation believes that he is the chosen one, his own words. Perhaps it's understandable, as he apparently possesses God-like omniscience.
Nobody knows more about taxes than I do, and income than I do.
Nobody knows more about construction than I do.
Nobody knows more about campaign finance than I do.
Nobody knows consultants better than me.
I know more about drones than anybody. Nobody knows much more about technology. Nobody in the history of this country has ever known so much about infrastructure as Donald Trump.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
Nobody knows more about environmental impact statements than me. And I think I know more about the environment than most people.
I know a lot about wind. I know a lot about wind.
You know, I know windmills very much. I've studied it better than anybody.
I understand the power of Facebook, maybe better than almost anybody. I know more about renewables than any human being on earth. Nobody knows more about polls than me.
I know more about courts than any human being on earth.
Nobody knows more about banks than I do.
Nobody knows more about trade than me.
Well, obviously, he doesn't know about nuclear weapons. I know more about nuclear weapons than he'll ever know.
I understand the tax laws
Better than almost anyone.
Who knows more about lawsuits than I do? I'm the king.
I know a lot. I know more than I'm ever going to tell you.
Who would fall for this? This untethered claim by Captain Kaveffe that somehow he knows more than the world's most credentialed scientists, historians, philosophers, logicians, specialists, scholars, and Nobel laureates on everything from finance to the Middle East to nuclear weapons. This is the same guy who boasted about passing that basic cognition test where he had to remember 5 words in order. He's still boasting about it today. And yet, apparently this qualifies him to be not just king, but maybe a supreme being. And his minions seem to agree. They build idols in his honor. This is an actual idol that was brought to the 2021 Conservative Political Action Committee conference, and people were posing with this golden calf. Sculptor Alan Cottrill of Ohio built himself a 15-foot-tall bronze Donald Trump. He wants to have his own face put on Mount Rushmore. Check out this bizarre AI image, which was posted on the official White House social media account. This shit is so straight up North Korea that I actually went and photoshopped him here next to the statue of North Korea's Kim Jong-il for comparison. That's some serious dear leader bullshit right there, right? But you ask, my alien friend, you ask me, why would Americans who escaped a monarchy want a king? Because tens of millions of registered voters in this country are as sharp as soup. That's why. They won't understand today because they don't understand our yesterday. They love savior figures, and they're easy meat for charismatic con men. But tens of millions of others are also rising up to resist. They do understand our present in relation to our past. And they're fighting hard for our future. They're protesting, they're pushing back, always with conviction, and often with great humor. Can I show you some examples of humorous messaging from some of the No Kings protests? I enjoyed this one. Hey MAGA, go fact yourself. IKEA has better cabinets. Honk if you never texted secret war plans. Imagine this car filled with bees. Clean up on aisle 47. Does this ass make my country look small? Here's the sign I just made for the next protest. I haven't taken it out in public yet, but I've got it in the queue. It says, "The Republican Congress prepares to convene." Oh, my extraterrestrial friends, humanity has its moments, standing up for the best and the worst of times. Could you see from space? Could you look down and see on your monitors some of the recent protests from across my nation under threat? It'll warm your heart. This happened in Chicago, Illinois recently. New York City. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Check out this amazing aerial photo from San Francisco on June 14th. People didn't just hold the signs, they became the sign. They sent a message that they are not royal subjects, they're free citizens. They believe that the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. At least that's the nation they want to live in, that's the country they're fighting for. In that sense, my extraterrestrial friend, if we were to divide humans into their nature, maybe we could do so in a way that relates specifically to you, the alien. In our recent history, we used to speculate a lot about the aliens, and our opinions and our media reflected much of what we feared and what we hoped for and who we were. The Red Scare and fears of nuclear holocaust prompted an entire genre of 1950s alien films that reflected a terrified culture. They're coming to get us. They're going to steal everything, and they're going to abduct us, and they're going to destroy the world. Alien fiction, which also exposed American xenophobia. In the minds of many, the outsider were a danger coming to take everything we have, and people like that exist today. The late 60s began a kind of turning point where humankind became slightly less afraid, a little more optimistic about other places and other intelligences. We saw a lot of films in the 80s and 90s that looked with wonder at the possibilities of making contact, discovery, connection, a kind of cosmic kinship with other sentient beings. Many of those optimists, dreamers, and ambassadors exist on our planet today. So here you are. You come in peace. Yet tragically, many of my fellow citizens do not. Humanity, we've proven both profoundly sensible and wildly senseless when it comes to almost everything in our lives. We're a species at war with itself constantly. And I guess it's always been that way. Only 160 years ago in this country, it was another incarnation of that same human battle, one side wanting to cage people, the other side wanting to liberate them. One of the darkest periods in American history, resulting in one of its brightest moments, the 13th Amendment and the abolition of slavery. Not that long ago, a culture of sexists told women to shut up. Many of them stood on the Bible when they tried to silence women, but another culture of liberators stood up for gender equality, resulting in the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution in August of 1920. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. And we know misogyny hasn't gone away, but the suffrage movement knocked down sexist barriers to the ballot box. In the 50s and 60s, the dividers shouted, "America first." That sound familiar? White America first. The uniters among us said no. We are all the human condition. 1954 Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education smashed school segregation. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. Legal blocks to interracial marriage would be struck down 3 years later. Invoking God, famous religious bigot Jerry Falwell and people like him famously said that gay people were dangerous reprobates seeking a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. They blamed homosexuals for everything, from pedophilia to the AIDS virus to the attacks of 9/11. The fearful and the hateful and the small claimed that society had no obligation to serve non-heterosexuals. You want health care? You want a job? You want to get married? Would you like us to bake you a cake? Sorry, you don't have that right. And yet millions of other people formed a resistance. They stood up and they continue to stand up for LGBT equality, gender equality, racial equality. The struggle continues. Sometimes it feels like half of humans are inhuman. Does anyone else feel that way? Christian nationalists are desperately trying to build one nation in their image and make the rest of us second-class citizens, or worse. And yet many good people, including many Christians, are battling daily for equality across the board. People like my friend Amanda Tyler of the Baptist Joint Committee. She's founder of Christians Against Christian Nationalism. We may disagree on theology, but we share values. And she stands shoulder to shoulder with humanists across the board to fight for what's right. My friend Rachel Lazar, practicing Jew, is president of Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, an organization on the ideological and the legal front lines to defend our Constitution. There are so many other good people across the religious and non-religious spectrum who are on the right side of these issues and on the right side of history, of humanity. I can't explain to you why members of my species would make a concentration camp the opportunity for a photo op. I can't explain it to you. But I can tell you there are other good people who are out there protesting and being outraged about it because it is wrong and immoral and horrible and inhuman. The camps are a microcosm of the world I'm trying to describe. My species it has the worst and the best. The kidnappers and the liberators, the killers and the healers, the builders, the burners. You have landed in a place that's broken and unsafe, the divided states of America. Given what's happening, my friends, I don't think you should stay. I think you're in danger if you stay. Many will always fear and hate what they don't or what they won't understand. But before you go, I want to give you a reason to maybe return someday. As far as I go, I'm a work in progress. I'm going to try to keep myself from just becoming scar tissue. I'm going to try to keep from losing the better parts of myself. I'm going to try to keep from surrendering to despair and depression and exasperation. I'm going to make sure while I'm cursing the darkness, I'm also spreading and even enjoying some light. And when we hopefully meet again, I hope that the future me is a better man than he is today. Good people will still be here when you return, dreaming, battling, building, rebuilding. I've met a lot of these people. Many are in this room. And I can assure you they will never stop. They'll never stop fighting for what they believe in, for what is right. They are the best of us. And on your next visit, I hope those people are the first people you meet. I hope it's somebody like April LaJoy. I hope it's April. She would be my ambassador. I hope it's Gail. I hope it's Coleman. for David, Candace, Stacy. So this whole room, you're my pick. You're my ambassadors. Because we are seeing visitors land here in our eye line every day. Not necessarily from up there, but from right here where we live. You would be humanity's ambassadors, and I would proudly stand with you. You represent the goodness we're capable of. You are a reason my species might be worth meeting again. If and when that day arrives, my friends, it is our deepest goal to be a humanity worth visiting, worth knowing. At the very least, we're hoping that there is a greater good and lesser evils. Oppressors will fall to the liberators. Kindness will conquer cruelty. Humanity will overwhelm inhumanity. When we look up and we see you arriving from the skies, we're not going to respond with fear and hate. We're going to roll out the welcome mat. We're going to greet you with big smiles, and we're going to teach you how we hug and high five. We'll tell you our story. We'll show you our world. And after our great struggle, this world will indeed be a better world. That's the goal. That's the dream. Perhaps on that future day, as a species, we'll be able to walk up to you and say, sincerely, from the bottom of our hearts, we come in peace. Thank you.